Good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful, chilly morning here in North Carolina, and I think it's time to put some rear speakers in the 4Runner. Let's get into it. So there are a few ways to go about this. One way, of course, is to go in the factory location, but the factory location, at least the holes in the plastic panel itself, are drilled for a 4-inch speaker, so I'd have to modify that. Likewise, there is no bracket behind the plastic, at least in my situation, so I would have to make my own bracket to mount a speaker, modify the plastics, and that is one way to go about it. Another option, which I wasn't a huge fan of, and a lot of people do it, is putting boat speakers on the roll bar. While that does work, I think a lot of those types of speaker cans, are ginormous, and I don't really care for the look of it. I think it just looks kind of odd.
Ugh. Brother, ugh.
You know, to each his own. I'm not knocking that. If it works for you, fine. Plus, you know, you can put waterproof speakers in there. If you have the top off, happens to rain, it's great. But in my case, I don't really ride around with the top off very often. I'm not getting caught in the rain. I just want something a little more compact that serves the same purpose, but also looks nice. So I decided to design and make my own 6x9 speaker cans. And this is how it went. So a while back, I bought these 6x9 Kenwood KFC 691 speakers, $75 for the pair. They sound pretty good. Seemed like they had reasonable reviews, with an idea of putting them somewhere. Now, the factory location was kind of off the table. It seemed like it was going to be a pain to put them there, plus the sound quality probably wouldn't have been too great. I got around to looking on websites like Thingiverse, and the one I found by JWX was nice, but one thing I did not like about it was it seemed pretty large as far as depth goes. Looks like it was more set up for possibly a boat application. The single clamp design too didn't really seem that appealing for my application, being that driving down the road might be a little bit more rough, especially if we take it on the trail. So I decided to come up with my own. In comes the Degreeless Engineering 6x9 speaker mount. This is the main body and clamps. I was able to reduce the inside and put a bevel there to make it print friendly, to reduce the amount of material used and overall print time. There's a small hole here for the wiring to pass through, plenty of room for 2 standard speaker wires to pass through to be able to terminate to the actual 6x9 speakers. In the clamping area, there's a groove here and on the opposing side to be able to route the wires cleanly through the clamping area instead of having to go outside of the speaker area on either side. It can pass through here. It's a nice option to have. Got the Degreeless Engineering logo. And of course, every hole that you see on the face, front and rear, is set up for M5 threaded heat set inserts. The same goes for this area here. These holes for the clamping area use heat set inserts, but these are M6. I opted to go with the larger fastener just to give it more strength. So the rear cover is pretty simple. It does have the Degreeless Engineering logo. I decided against putting any color there just to keep everything simple, but the option is there to add color for that particular area, which I may go back and redo those covers because they do seem a little bit plain. Here there is a port to allow for pressure release. It is a 3/4 inch port with a bevel. I thought long and hard about designing a front mesh for the speakers, and overall it seemed like the right decision. It matched the overall aesthetic of the rest of the speaker, and it gave me the option of giving it a custom feel, custom look, and I think overall it turned out pretty great. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. There you have it, the Degreeless Engineering 6x9 speaker mount. This thing would be great in a truck, a boat, anything that has a 2-inch roll bar or surf bar. This speaker will mount to it. So it's very versatile as far as what it can be mounted to. And I think overall anybody would be very pleased with this speaker can. So here is the first revision. 6x9 speaker can by Degreeless Engineering. It's not perfect. There's a little bit of ringing right here from some over extrusion issues. I didn't have the filament dialed in just right. It's plenty strong. It's got the back cover with the port to allow for pressure release. Front of the speaker is just kind of, you know, screwed on there, no fascia on it, no screen. I think it looks okay like that, but I might put something over it because I don't want my daughter to be poking it. If she's ever climbing around in my truck. We've got the 2-inch clamp set up here for the actual roll bar. I offset the size by, I think, 0.010 of an inch just to give it a little bit more room for, you know, any kind of variation in tolerances. There's that little groove there for the wire to travel through, hole for the wiring. Everywhere you see a fastener on the actual speaker face, the rear cover, and where the clamps go have a threaded insert. A heat set insert is what they're called. But I did have some issues with the M6 here. When I printed it, I did it to the size of what I think Master Car said to do M6 to, and I think mine at home, I got mine from Amazon, may have been a little bit smaller. That being said, when I went to put them in there, they were a little loose. I kind of questioned it, but I pushed them in, let them cool down, went to start kind of tightening everything up, and the inserts were getting pulled out of the hole. So in the meantime, what I did is took some 2-part epoxy, put it inside the hole with some with the threaded insert and the fasteners, and just kind of mushed it in there, let it set up. It, you know, it seems pretty strong. I mean, we're gonna find out. It's either gonna hold or it's gonna fall off or start sliding around and spinning around like a freaking stripper. Let's get it put on and see how it looks in there. You know, we do have some room in there. We don't have a lot of room. Ultimately, I want to see if we need to make some changes. And I've already made adjustments for those holes there, so that's been fixed. I've downsized those holes so that they're probably going to be too tight, but I would rather drill them out a little bit than have them too loose. I'd rather be too tight to where that plastic is melting and really getting into those crevices than have them be too loose. So keep that in mind when you're designing anything with heat set inserts. Have it on the tighter side, and then you could dial it in from there. The way they kind of drop in, that first little drop before it hits the actual splines on the heat set insert, that's what you're going for. You want it to drop in there, be nice and snug around that, and then you heat it up, and then it, you know, mushes in there. But that has been addressed on the newest revision. I've trimmed some fat on the inside of the main can, which is this guy here, just to reduce the amount of material it uses, reduce their overall weight, because the speaker's already heavy enough. I don't want to put any more stress on the actual carbon fiber PETG, which, by the way, this is carbon fiber PETG, ERYONE, ERYONE, carbon fiber filament. Please don't buy all of it. I need some too, but it is a damn steal, is what it is. $30 a 1 kilogram roll, and this stuff prints nice and it's strong as shit. If you want to get you a roll. The stuff looks good, works out great, prints really well too. But let's get this thing put in and see how it looks. Maybe we'll run some wires. Maybe we will. One more final detail, important news on the Degreeless Engineering forefront here. Wanted everybody to know. This is Akira. This is my new puppy, Shiba Inu puppy. She is the new official mascot of Degreeless Engineering. She's 2 months old, and she's the sweetest and smartest puppy you'll ever meet. She's going to be hanging out with me a lot in my videos from here on out. We're going to be going on adventures. We're going to be doing lots of stuff. So she's going to hang out in the back of the truck with me while we're putting this thing in. So let's get to it. Say hi. Oh my God, look at that little face up close. Give that nose a boop, guys. Give it a boop. So most store-bought boat speaker cans, even the one, I think it's Rockville, which I have one of their head units in my boat, their 6x9 speaker can only has one clamp right in the center, which is fine, but being this is 3D printed plastic, I needed as much strength as I could possibly get and want a bunch of twisting going on driving down the road. So I think having 2 clamps would probably be best. Hey, come here. Come here. Here, hang out right here. I should have brought you a blanket or something to lay on. You're gonna try to jump down? Go ahead, go for it. You're gonna break your friggin' leg. Rockville has a nice speaker can. Actually, I think on one of the reviews, there was a guy with a first gen 4Runner, had him mounted in his. I think right in here. Boy, them things look like. To me, it kind of reminded me of something from that Rocket League game, the cars that play soccer. But again, to each his own. If it works, it works. That's the whole point of it. You just want to get some more bump in the trunk, you know? Boom, 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 boot up. Look at that, dude. That looks pretty cool. That was my goal, is to get it to where it was just like, you know, kind of tucked back in there, not all up in our shit. Probably gonna move it around, but I opted for carbon fiber PETG, and not for the reason you would probably think. A lot of people have the misconception that carbon fiber PETG or carbon fiber filament in general, because it's carbon fiber, it's stronger. And it's not necessarily true, but what it is more rigid, especially when printing. Printing a large part like this, especially something that is just a wall, like the speaker can, out of just a straight PETG or polycarbonate or nylon or ASA, anything that you could possibly put in a hot vehicle, it's gonna wanna give you issues when you're printing. So the reason I went with carbon fiber is once it puts that layer down, it just stays. It locks it in, it keeps it nice and flat to the surface. You don't have to worry about warping. Likewise, PETG does okay in a hot car, being it's gonna be right here next to a window. The sun could be hitting it. The carbon fiber will help it maintain its form, really. I don't want it to get droopy and soft and the plastic kind of get more malleable. This truck's going to get hot in the summer in the south, and straight PETG I don't think would survive. ASA, carbon fiber ASA, is super expensive. Carbon fiber nylon is not as expensive. You can get it, you know, cheap, on the cheaper side, maybe $35, on the cheapest side $45 typically for a roll, but you got to deal with a lot of stringing and gooiness. It soaks up a lot of moisture. It can, you know, it's more difficult to print than PETG. PETG is like kind of gooey by nature, but for some reason when you put carbon fiber in it, the carbon fiber takes up that room, so you don't have as much goopy goo happening. What's wrong, Akira? Come on, sit in my lap. You say hi. I know you're getting bored. We're gonna go play in the front yard in a minute. Orientation for the clamps, I printed those sitting kind of straight up and down because I wanted those layers to kind of come up this way, because when you actually clamp it around the bar, those layers, like a flaky crust, like layers of wood, it's less likely to break because it's, you know, it's like straps that go around. This guy printed it flat, obviously for reasons because of the shape, the oval shape. Wanted to keep it kind of as thin as possible. Let's take a look. Obviously, we could, you know, change the orientation. We could go lower with it. We could put it on the backside, you know, kind of facing out this way if we wanted to. You could put it on the bar above you facing this way. That's kind of the beauty of it. I think I kind of like it here because it's not in the way. It's not blasting at the back of people's heads that might be riding in the back seat, and that is the important thing, I think. So, but at around 3:30, I've got a guy coming to put some window tint on the windshield and the side windows. I'm excited about that. Once summer hits, gonna have some nice ceramic tint. Not gonna be getting cooked by the magnifying glass OEM windows that have no factory tint at all. So plus it'll keep it a lot cooler when it's parked. So I'm excited about that. I'll get some video of that posted up as well. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right, let's go. So it's been a while since I've done an update on this particular project with these speakers, but in typical Ryan fashion, I decided to start another project within a project within a project. Got the windows tinted. They weren't able to do the corner windows but I was able to do that myself. They left me a little bit of tint, which I appreciate them for that. That's pretty good, I think. And I'll get a close-up of that stuff in a little bit. But this is what I'm working on now. Carpet. It is graphite gray, and yesterday I had a little bit of a freak out because when the, I guess, twilight was shining through the windshield, it going through the tint, it kind of made it look green. And I was like, not again. Because this is the second time I've bought carpet from ACC. The first time I bought it, they said medium gray. It showed up. It may as well have been white because it was way, way, way too light. I was like, absolutely not. That's not going to my truck. It's going to get destroyed. I'm not like using it for off-roading, but if I ever did, or even if I had mud on my feet and the floor mat slipped a little bit, you know, I don't want to deal with that. So I wanted to get something darker. I didn't want to get black. Feel like black shows like, you know, dirt in its own way, just as bad, especially like red clay where we live. We have a lot of red clay pretty much everywhere. So got to work on this last night. Took a little while getting it where it's at currently. Cut the hole for the shifters, approximate location. I might have to trim that a little bit more. The big thing is what I would say if you're going to do this carpet, it is like pre-molded from ACC, and it's good stuff. I got the mass backing, so this is the Essex with the mass backing, graphite gray. This molded section here needs to sit there, and as you can see, it's probably a few inches off. And the big thing that's limiting it is this front edge here. I've already removed almost 4 inches off of the front of this, and I'm gonna have to probably remove another 2 to 3 inches. So just be prepared for that. Mind you, if you are doing that and you start trimming it and trimming it and trimming it, be mindful that this corner right here is going to prevent you from pushing it up as well. So once I get this kind of mashed in, I'm probably going to take and cut some of this off. Quarter of a circle right here, just give a little trim to that, do that on both sides, and then see how it fits after that before I keep taking too much off of the front edge. Let's get started on that so that I don't have to be doing this all weekend and I have a truck to drive on Monday. Here we go. Got the carpet in. Thing turned out pretty well. Obviously I gotta get the correct center console for this, but I think what I'm gonna do is make my own. It started out as, oh, I was gonna do my speakers, and then I was like, oh, while I'm at it, I might as well do carpet. And then I was like, oh, while I'm at it, I might as well do a center console. But before I do the center console, I have to get new seats. So I might as well buy Corbeau seats. I'm going to get the Corbeau Moabs. Then I can properly build a center console because I don't want to build one and it's too wide and then the seats are squished and so on and so forth. Let's take a look at the speakers, see what you guys think. So I've kind of been moving them around a little bit, trying to figure out where I want to keep them permanently. Initially I had them, well, here you go. There you go. That's where they're currently at. I kind of like that spot because they're out of the way. Initially I had them mounted, I had one of them mounted here, but this bar is kind of angled that way. So it points the speaker down, which isn't that great for sound. Then I moved them up here, which is fine, and they look good up there and don't really mess up visibility, which I don't have a whole lot of visibility anyways because of the spare tire. But the 6x9s that I have, they have the tweeter in the center. They are just blaring at the back of my head the whole time. So it's like trying to get a balance of like sound clarity and bass and volume to try to make up for what's going on with the exhaust, which I'm planning on doing eventually. It wasn't very pleasing to the ear. So I wanted to try this location here. And last night when I installed these in this spot, this side I was able to tuck back in there pretty well to where it's almost flat. It's got a little bit of an angle, but when I went to do this side, I was not able to accomplish the same thing. It's almost like the roll bar is closer to the body on this side. And I know they're bolted in. I don't know if they have like slots down in these locations or not. You know, maybe they're slotted, maybe I can kind of break them loose. Ultimately, I plan on removing the roll bar and repainting it anyways, but I wanted to get an exact location where I'm going to be putting the speakers on, so once I do paint it, I don't scratch it all to hell. They sound great in their current location, but again, I could always angle them. You could always angle these, point more towards the actual driver. They could be mounted up here, they could be mounted here, they can be mounted facing back towards the back of the truck. It's endless. The options are endless. And officially, I've decided to give this file away for free. What? So you guys can print these yourself. These are for 6x9s. Any 6x9 should work. You will need some threaded, heat set threaded inserts. You're gonna need some fasteners, some metric fasteners, or standard, whatever you decide to use. Everything's set up for metric heat set inserts from like Amazon. I think they turned out pretty good, and I'll get you a close-up of them right now. Okay, so I'm most likely going to be putting these on printables, the files for this, along with, you know, recommended heat set inserts, fastener sizes, so on and so forth. I will be putting that link in the description below. Feel free to grab that, print these up, man, they're great. I think they're cool. You can print them in whatever material your heart's desire. Like I said, I use carbon fiber PETG, you can use polycarbonate, you can use ASA. I recommend a fiber-filled filament. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but when you're printing something this large, you tend to have a lot of warping. And as 3D printing goes, when you put fiber in it, it kind of locks it in place. So it works out really well for stuff like this. I was planning on doing several parts to this video, all in one video, the carpet, speakers, the seats, and just doing one big long video, but I think I'm just gonna break it up. I gotta post some stuff up. I want you guys to get these, you know, hooked up and installed before spring gets here, so you guys can be out on the trails or going to the beach or just driving around the city, ripping some tunes. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the comment section below. Again, this is Degreeless Engineering, a channel where we engineer using experience. I experienced a lot and I learned a lot, and I hope you guys did too. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. I'll see you guys later. Feel free to grab that.